Hello to anyone watching. I'm Corey Harrell, and this is my internship experience. So, who am I? Let's start with my education. I'm technically a junior here at Rowan University, however, I have enough credits to allow me to graduate a year early. This is due to my AP courses in high school and because I took a couple of extra summer classes. I'm actually pretty new to Rowan University because I transferred here from my local community college, Rowan College for Burlington County, or RCBC for short. I took my first 3 semesters there and was able to graduate with an Associate of Science degree. So why computer science? I actually picked computer science as a complete shot in the dark. I spent all of senior year of high school unsure of what I wanted my major to be, and ultimately decided on computer science because I had an interest in video games. I figured even if I hated it, I would still be able to go out and get a job so I can earn money while I figure out what my true passion is. That being said, I walked into my first computer science course and walked out fascinated. It was then that I knew computer science was for me. So, what do I want to do in the future? I can honestly say that I don't really know, although I do have some ideas. I've always thought it would be cool to work some type of software engineering job in a big company, but that's not really the dream. The dream is to work on a personal side project in addition to that job. I'd like to be able to work on something creative, like a video game, graphic design, or maybe a mixture of the two. The goal would be to eventually gain enough popularity doing that I would be able to become my own boss one day. I know it's a large goal, but I've always been taught to shoot for the stars. So what is AS&T? Admittedly, I had no idea what kind of company AS&T was until my application was already on the way, but I did a ton of my own research to figure out what they're all about before I decided to join them. AS&T stands for Advanced Sciences and Technologies and was established in December of 2005. AS&T's purpose is to provide high-quality technical, administrative, and engineering support to their long-term Federal Aviation Administration, commercial, and Department of Defense clients. Their leadership is extremely reputable, consisting of a team of with over 100 years of combined engineering experience and much time spent previously working with other defense contractor companies like Raytheon and L3. AS&T's mission statement is to commit to providing customers with high-quality, cost-effective, mission-critical engineering and technical services, while fostering an environment of growth and opportunities for all employees. Finally, AS&T's building is located in Berlin, New Jersey, but even though I work for them, I've never actually been there. This brings me to my next slide. AS&T is currently in a contract with Lockheed Martin, meaning even though I'm an employee of AS&T, I'm working on Lockheed projects within Lockheed facilities. So as some backstory for this company, Lockheed Martin is actually one large combination of other companies that got merged together over a span of 100 plus years. In 1912, there was Glen L. Martin, which eventually merged with the American Marietta Corporation to form Martin Marietta. This was a company with a long history in aviation and defense. Similarly, Allen and Malcolm Lockheed got their start under the name Alco Hydro Aeroplane Company, before it ultimately became the Lockheed Corporation. Eventually, in 1995, the Lockheed Corporation and Martin Marietta had another merger, leading to the Lockheed Martin we all know today. So let's talk achievements. To name just a few, there's the U-2 spy plane, F-16 Fighting Falcon, F-35 Lightning II, which is actually pictured here, the SR-71 Blackbird, and more. The company also has contributed to many space projects like the Hubble Space Telescope, Mars rover, and many other satellites. In current developments, Lockheed Martin has been at the forefront of technological innovation in the defense and aerospace sectors, and there is also continued development in advanced aircrafts, missile systems, space exploration technologies, and more. So moving on, How did I get here? I began looking for internships in the middle of my sophomore year. At first, I was nervous to send out applications because I did not feel like I knew enough to work in an internship. This nervousness persisted until one day my teacher said something which should have been obvious. Why not send out an application? The worst that happens is they'll say no. Thanks to my teacher's simple phrase, I was motivated to finish my resume and begin applying for applications. Initially, I was rejected by 3 and did not hear anything back from another 5. I feared that I had a long and tedious application process ahead of me, but thankfully that's when the same teacher that motivated me to start applying presented an opportunity. This, this professor created what he liked to call the list. Now, the list was basically just an email chain of all his students where he forwarded all potential job opportunities that he would come across. But sometimes people reach out to him asking for potential interns as well. This was the case one day when he sent out an email requesting resumes saying that he would send over the first 5. Needless to say, my resume was sent over, and soon after I was granted an informational phone call from AS&T telling me about the available positions. During my call with AS&T, I was informed that because we are contracted by Lockheed Martin, they would be interviewing me to decide if I was a good candidate for the position. Going into the interview, I wish I knew what to expect because it would have saved me days of stress. I wasn't told any information, so I did not know if I would be tested on my technical knowledge or expected to code anything on the spot. I've heard a few interns go through different experiences, but my interview was a Skype call consisting of 5 people, 1 manager, and 4 team leads. They told me more about the positions, and then each one asked a question about my previous job and school experience, and how I would react to certain situations in the workplace. 2 examples of these questions are, what's the hardest project you've ever worked on? And in previous experiences, how have you dealt with the obstacles when there are no managers available for guidance? In the end, it was a relaxed conversation, and the best advice I could give is to take some deep breaths and calm yourself if you're stressing out. So let's move on to my role. I am a junior engineer that was assigned to work on the Ship Self-Defense System, or SSTS for short. This is a combat system specifically designed for anti-air defense and defense against any other potential threats to United States Navy combat ships. These ships include radars, hard kill systems to destroy incoming threats, and soft kill systems to distract or disrupt incoming threats. Within this large department, there are many teams specializing in different areas, and I was assigned to the test automation team. Our objective was to automate a series of tasks that would ensure each part of the ship was functioning as expected based on long documents containing test procedures and verification criteria. At first, my personal tasks were to follow the onboarding checklist and gain permissions for all systems I might need access to. Then I was tasked with reading through the extensive test procedure documents and summarizing them in a new document. Eventually, when that was done, I was tasked with GUI window configuration. I was responsible for going through each existing window of the SSTS interface and creating a file that contains every element and its location. For clarification, the elements are the buttons, drop-down menus, text boxes, lists, and anything else that may be included on a window. Once most of the windows were configured, my next set of tasks was to write functions that interact with these windows based on the location of their elements. Once enough functions were created, I was able to create keywords. These would call multiple functions and worked to meet verification criteria, such as pushing certain buttons in a sequence. Finally, I was responsible for creating the robot tests. These were made up entirely of keywords. These tests were the final part, and they usually called multiple keywords to demonstrate the automation of the test procedures. So what about classroom applications? I've taken a number of courses so far between RCBC and Rowan. This includes Intro to Comp Sci 1 and 2, Programming Workshop, Object-Oriented Programming, Machine Learning, Discrete Math, Foundations of Computer Science, Software Engineering, Computer Lab Techniques, Programming Languages, DAA, and various other math courses. Looking back, I believe the most relevant courses were Programming Workshop because it introduced me to Python. Also, Computer Lab Techniques because it deals with Linux and I need to use that fairly often in the workplace. And finally, Software Engineering because we learn about the Agile development method and practice scrums and sprint reviews and etc. This is especially useful because Lockheed Martin utilizes the Agile method. There were a few courses relevant specifically to my position. However, I do believe I received benefits from all courses. Each course taught me something new about programming that I'm able to apply to my future work. For example, DAA taught me about the efficiency of programming and common traps to avoid. Moving on. Why did I want this position? I mainly wanted this position because an internship looks great on your resume, and the experience you gain from it is extremely beneficial. I was able to learn so much about programming and how the workplace operates. And that brings me to my next point, exposure. I've never worked in an office before, so it was good to be able to familiarize myself with the workplace and a professional setting. By taking this internship, I was able to get comfortable and potentially avoid embarrassing myself by doing something I did not realize was unprofessional. Finally, you cannot beat the immediate and future opportunity you are provided with. I say immediate because while the goal of an internship is to learn as much as you can, there are also many positions available that are paying generously in addition to this. So if you're lucky, you may be able to find one of these positions. On the other hand, I bring up future opportunity because many internship positions invest so much in you that they will eventually offer you a full-time position when you graduate. And even if they don't, once again, any internship experience looks great on a resume to future employers. So here are some of my key takeaways from this experience. First, would I do it again? Definitely. And let me tell you why. During this position, I had access to so many resources. This includes training programs provided by Lockheed Martin that could teach you various technical skills such as Python, SQL, C++, and more. Also, I had many mentors that were able to teach me most of what I currently know about the job. Additionally, I acquired many useful skills, such as proper time management to maximize my efficiency with tasks. This was especially useful because it can be applied to everyday life. Also, as mentioned on the last slide, I learned how to act in a professional environment. Although it may seem obvious to most, I am glad I now know how to dress, speak, and behave in a professional manner. Finally, here are a couple lessons I'm glad I learned. First, make sure you maximize your work experience. Do this by being curious and asking questions, but also by making use of every resource your company provides you. Oftentimes, we were told that when we had nothing to do, we should just head into the lab and shadow someone who knew more than us. And sure enough, once we do that, we always find out something new. Another lesson I learned is to make sure you don't get too comfortable. The workplace is always changing, and there are always new positions and systems you should be wanting to learn. Don't miss out on potential opportunities because you were too scared to make a step into the unknown. I hope this presentation proves helpful to you, and thank you for listening. Happy hunting for your internship experiences.